Everyone loves a good story. Since the dawn of the human experience, storytelling is the sacred art that lies at the shared soul of our collective heritage. Telling stories is one of the most ancient aspects of the human condition, predating civilization, as old as our mastery of fire, or perhaps born of it. For storytelling is both our birthright and our legacy, and we have wielded it, in almost a divine fashion, to shape our own future, inspiring ourselves to lofty heights and great achievements. And we are forever forging new ways of practicing our oldest and most powerful art. I'm Dan, aka Wolf, and I'm going to tell you why video games have already dethroned film as the highest form of human storytelling, and no one seems to have noticed. But first, I'm going to ask you, if you are jacking into all the content that I'm putting out, subscribe to me, leverage the unrivaled power of that notification bell, and leave your love in the comments. What you have to say means much and more to me than you could possibly know. As human beings, we are magicians. Beyond making fire and creating the wheel, one of man's greatest achievements was harnessing the alchemy of developing celluloid and causing pictures to move, allowing us to finally grasp the fata morgana of visual storytelling. We could put men, women, and children in a room and transport them to faraway places, other lives, other worlds, other winds. We could give people glimpses of our past, show them our shadows, our mistakes, our brilliance, our beauty, and how far we've come, and take them to potential versions of our future. A warning of what lies in store if we fail to change, and what we can create if we heal ourselves with unity and work together to lead ourselves out of darkness. With the advent and eventual mastery of film and television, we had unlocked the divine art of the greatest method for telling stories, or so we thought. Just as preeminent film hardly resembles its humble origins, so too can be said of the video game. Decades of rapid evolution in a unified global effort have crystallized into powerful emotional narratives across vast, untamed frontiers, even reaching into the realm of the avant-garde that, just like its magnificent predecessor, is not necessarily appreciated by everyone. For film has laid the groundwork for everything that video games use to weave their powerful narratives, from utilizing the classic camera angles to actors bringing masterful and emotional performances that reveal the game's soul. In addition to being able to capture any feeling that film and television can reproduce, video games transcend film by offering choice, agency, and complicity. In film and television, the audience is a captive observer to the events that unfold. In video games, the player is complicit in the game's narrative, causing a more powerful psychological connection to the story's causality and emotional payout. Beyond this, video games give its players realms to inhabit and grants its audience the tools to tell their own story within the story, something a movie can never offer its captive observer. For there is nothing that the medium of film can do that the medium of video game, or what I will call interactive media, cannot. In fact, technologically speaking, there is virtually nothing else for film to pioneer or achieve, whereas with video games, we've only begun to scratch the surface of the monolith we've unlocked. One might be tempted to say that virtual reality is the last uncharted frontier for the picture show, but the moment that the experiencer begins to interact with their reality and use an external interhuman device to do so, this experience ceases to be film and becomes interactive media, aka a video game. Regardless of these facts, in the year 2020, the collective social psychology still regards film as a higher art form, as something that might validate the latter, despite the fact that nothing in the evolutionary process works this way. A 2-hour film adaptation cannot validate or eclipse a 60-hour epic full of complicity and choice, no more than a horse-drawn stagecoach can validate an early 21st century vehicle. Generally speaking, films are cheaper to make, take less time to develop, and offer much briefer and more limited experiences. The film and music industries combine to make less revenue than the behemoth that is the video game industry. The world has moved on in every measurable way, yet film still haunts our minds like some endangered apex predator that has already lost dominion of its environment, only its prey hasn't realized this yet. We need look no further than Wikipedia for a sampling of the dichotomy in perception of the two art forms. As of this video, the English language wiki's first sentence for movie is as follows. Film, also called movie, motion picture, or moving picture, is a visual art form used to simulate experiences that communicate ideas, stories, perceptions, feelings, beauty, or atmosphere through the use of moving images. Now, contrast that statement with what Wikipedia says about video game, and you are left with, a video game is an electronic game that involves interaction with a user interface or input device, such as a joystick, controller, keyboard, or motion sensing devices, to generate visual feedback for a player. Now here is the rub. The very sentence that Wikipedia uses to define film also perfectly defines video games, for video games are a visual art form used to simulate experiences that communicate ideas, stories, perceptions, feelings, beauty, or atmosphere through the use of moving images. Only video games are this and so much more, whereas film can be nothing more than what it has already become. One might argue that film will be needed to serve those who wish to merely rest and observe as a passenger of someone else's experience. But video games are already serving this need as well, as evidenced by the rise of streaming platforms and the saturation of non-commentary gameplay videos across the web. The inescapable fact remains that when it comes to practicing our oldest art, the interactive nature of video games combined with their cinematic immersion make them a superior choice for telling stories over film. And if you disagree with me, you need only ask yourself, do you want to observe a story or do you want to live it? Do you want to watch a hero rise or do you want to become him? Follow this line of thought to any aspect of the human condition. All that you love, all that you hate, all that you fear, all that you desire, and the answer becomes immediately clear. And despite all that video games have already accomplished, this amazing art form is yet in its adolescence, and perhaps, in time, may have no limit that can be distinguished from our reality. In that moment, such an art form will still be, by definition, a video game. Whereas film will still be film, and at that point be rendered as practical to the people of that future as an old photograph is to us now. A novelty, but primitive and impractical. Now, do not mistake my meaning. Film is not going to die out soon, at least not completely. And movies will always be a cherished and beloved art form, much like those that came before it. But film is no longer the emperor of our modern storytelling world, and its Roman Empire will eventually fall, or be absorbed into the rising industry of video games, or whatever formal name they will eventually lay upon it, such as interactive media. Movies will be long remembered for having laid the groundwork for the kind of storytelling that video games already do and will grow far beyond. In the age whose infancy is already upon us, film will be remembered as the respected titan that ushered in the god of a new age, who, like most heroes, started their journey as an unsuspecting and plucky underdog, a nobody, having been born as nothing more than a simple, amusing concept. If this video meant something to you, you can help me build something great by subscribing and sharing this video across the 4 corners of the internet. Follow me on Twitter and show me the pictures of the wolf in your life. And don't forget to leave your love in the comments. And I have other videos that may offer you something you didn't know you were searching for. Until next time, I'll catch you in the wilderness of the mental.